Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into one of the most chaotic and epic periods in Chinese history. Imagine this. 3 friends are staring at one giant pizza, and all of them are convinced it belongs to them. That's basically the Three Kingdoms period in a nutshell. It's a story of ambition, betrayal, and a whole lot of fighting. So, how did we get here? Well, China was this close to being unified under one banner. But it turns out, nobody really liked that idea. The giant Han Empire had crumbled, and in its place, warlords were popping up everywhere. This chaos eventually boiled down to 3 main players. First, up in the north, you have the formidable Cao Cao. This guy is a brilliant military strategist, a cunning politician, and just a little bit power-hungry. He's got the land, he's got the resources, and he's eyeing control of the mighty Yangtze River. The key to conquering the south? Then you have Liu Bei. He's the good guy of the story, claiming to be a descendant of the Han royal family. He's all about restoring the old dynasty, but he has one tiny problem. He keeps losing battles and has to run away. A lot. He's constantly on the move, desperately searching for a place to call his own and some smart people to help him. And finally, in the southeast, you have Sun Quan. He's the youngest of the bunch, inheriting a solid piece of territory from his father and older brother. He's got a strong navy and the natural barrier of the Yangtze River. For a while, he just showed up. But don't underestimate him. He's playing the long game. But wait, how does a massive, unified empire splinter into 3 separate kingdoms, all at each other's throats? The answer, my friends, involves fire. Lot of fire. Let's rewind a bit to see how the board was set. Before it was 3 kingdoms, it was a free-for-all. The main event in the north was the showdown between our boy Cao Cao and another powerful warlord, Yuan Shao. This was the heavyweight championship for control of the northern plains. Yuan Shao rolls up with what everyone called the big army we're talking over 110,000 soldiers. He's got numbers, he's got prestige, he's the clear favorite. This whole conflict, known as the Battle of Guandu, was a masterclass in military strategy, and it had some legendary side quests. At one point, Liu Bei's sworn brother, the legendary warrior Guan Yu, was temporarily serving Cao Cao to repay a debt of kindness. Guan Yu charged into Yuan Shao's army, took out one of their top generals with a single heroic stab, and then basically said, "Alright, my debt is paid. Bye, Cao Cao." Before riding off to reunite with Liu Bei, you can't make this stuff up. Back to the main battle. Cao Cao knew he couldn't win a head-on fight, he had to be clever. Yuan Shao, thinking he could easily crush Cao Cao's supply lines, sent a detachment to attack. But Cao Cao was one step ahead. He laid a trap. As Yuan Shao's troops chased his supply wagons, they started seeing shiny objects dropping on the ground. Ooh, treasure. The soldiers, losing all discipline, broke formation to start grabbing the loot. Just as they were distracted, bam, Cao Cao's elite cavalry swooped in and completely routed them. It was a classic bait in which Liu Bei, who was briefly allied with Yuan Shao, had to do his signature move, run away again. After this initial skirmish, both armies dug in at Guandu. The conflict turned into a boring stalemate that lasted for months. Cao Cao's smaller army was running out of food. Things were looking grim. He was on the brink of starvation and defeat. But then, in a stroke of genius born from pure desperation, he received a crucial piece of intel. A defector from Yuan Shao's side revealed the location of his enemy's massive supply depot at Wu. This was Cao Cao's chance. He personally led a small elite strike team, disguised as Yuan Shao's troops, and snuck behind enemy lines. They infiltrated the Wuchao depot and did the one thing you don't want to happen to your food supply. They burned it. All of it. The news sent catastrophic shockwaves through Yuan Shao's army. With no food, morale plummeted. His massive army, hungry and demoralized, simply collapsed. Cao Cao seized the moment, launched a full-scale assault, and achieved a decisive, legendary victory. He had won the North from a military perspective. The Guandu campaign was a masterclass. It wasn't about brute force. It was about psychological warfare, precision strikes, and understanding that an army, no matter how large, marches on its stomach. Meanwhile, what about Liu Bei? He's still running, but he realized he couldn't keep doing it alone. He needed a brain, a top-tier strategist to level up his game. He heard tales of a brilliant recluse living in the mountains, a man known as Zhuge Liang, the sleeping dragon. So, Liu Bei went to his humble cottage to recruit him. The first time, Zhuge Liang wasn't home. The second time, he was out. Finally, on the third visit, Liu Bei, showing incredible humility for a man of his stature, was granted a meeting. Impressed by his sincerity, Zhuge Liang agreed to join him. With the sleeping dragon on his team, Liu Bei finally had a grand strategy. With the north secured, Cao Cao felt unstoppable. He declared, "I'm done with the north. Let's go unify the rest of China." He turned his gaze south, towards Liu Bei and Sun Quan. Cao Cao amassed an enormous force and marched down to the Yangtze River. He boasted of having 800 troops, a bit of an exaggeration. but still a terrifying number. His plan was to sail down the river and crush all opposition. There was just one problem. His soldiers were mostly from the north. They were excellent land-based warriors, but they were not sailors. As soon as they got on the boats, they got horribly seasick. An army that's busy throwing up isn't very effective. So, Cao Cao came up with what he thought was a brilliant solution. He ordered all his ships to be chained together, creating massive, stable platforms. Problem solved, right? The seasickness was gone. His navy was now a giant, floating fortress. Liu Bei and Sun Quan, now in a fragile alliance against the common threat, looked at this enormous chained-up raft of ships and people. Instead of despairing, they said, we have an idea. This is where Zhuge Liang's genius shines again. He wasn't just a military strategist, he was also an amateur meteorologist. He studied the weather patterns and predicted that soon the wind would shift and blow from the southeast directly towards Cao Cao's fleet. The alliance prepared their attack. They loaded dozens of small ships, not with soldiers, but with oil-soaked reeds and straw. When the southeasterly wind started blowing, just as Zhuge Liang had predicted, they lit the ships on fire and sent the blazing vessels sailing straight towards Cao Cao's navy. Imagine the scene. A fleet of fire ships, propelled by a strong wind, crashing into a massive, interconnected wooden structure. The chains that were meant to be a strength became a fatal weakness. The ships couldn't scatter. The fire spread instantly. Kaboom! It was one of the most spectacular and decisive naval battles in history. The Battle of Red Cliffs. Cao Cao's invincible fleet was reduced to a smoldering wreck. His dreams of quick unification went up in smoke. Defeated and humiliated, Cao Cao had to flee all the way back north, barely escaping with his life. And so, the dust settled, and the map of China was redrawn. Not into one empire, but three. The three kingdoms were born. Liu Bei, with Zhuge Liang's guidance, finally carved out his own territory in the west, the kingdom of Shu. Sun Quan held firm in the southeast, establishing the kingdom of Wu, protected by the Great River. And Cao Cao, despite his devastating loss, still controlled the vast northern heartland, the powerful kingdom of Wei. So now you have it. Three ambitious leaders, each ruling a third of the pizza, and all of them dreaming the same dream, becoming the one true emperor of everything. But when you have three people who all want the exact same thing, you know what happens next, right? They just keep fighting, and fighting, and fighting. It's a cycle of conflict, alliances, and betrayals that would last for decades. Thanks for watching.